In this video I'm gonna teach you how to make this impactful ball animation. You can find the project file in the description. Making a new After Effects tutorial for each day of the year, day 21 of 365. Let's start by creating a ellipse. This will be our ball. I'm gonna decrease the stroke, I'm going to disable the stroke. And let's just make this a solid. There you go. We have our ball, let's center it with Ctrl-Alt-Home and Ctrl-Home. Let's rename this as ball. Gonna label this green. And let's also create the rectangle we are going to break. Let's make the rectangle, hold Ctrl, make it really thick. Like that. Here in contents, rectangle path, we can make it more round. Something like that. Yeah, that should be good. Let's rename this as rectangle. The first thing, we're going to animate the scale. So the ball gonna go from 0 to something, maybe 2 seconds, a little less, to 100. There you go. So it will get bigger. As it gets bigger, I want to add a shake, a wiggle to the ball. First, let's add a slider control. This is to control the wiggle. So now go to position, I'll click position, and let's type wiggle, something like 10 maybe, comma, and after the comma, we are going to grab the big whip and select the slider, the value of the slider. Now go at the beginning here, make a keyframe for slider, go a little forward like in the middle, and increase the slider like 50 maybe. And then to 0, like that. There you go. So now let's ease this scale keyframe. So ease the last keyframe with F9 and drag the speed graph. Do the same thing with the wiggle. Ease the last keyframe and drag it all the way to 100. Let's see. There you go. I want it to start shaking a little early, so I'm gonna drag this here. There you go. So we have this beginning part. I want it to shake more, so I'm gonna increase this to 70 maybe. 60. Okay, so we have this beginning part done. Now we are going to animate the position. Press P, click the stopwatch, move it here at the beginning, the keyframe. Okay, we'll start moving like here, some of the keyframe here. Press P to see the position only. Let's make the path for the ball. I'm gonna go a little forward. I want it to go here, then a little forward, go here, a little forward, here, a little forward, here. It makes like some loops, some infinite loop. And here, in the last loop, I want it to come here, like here. And then from here, I want it to go all the way up here, like that. And now if you see, the animation is like a really poor animation. So now let's add some curviness to this path. Grab the pen tool with G and click and drag. Now let's see, and now the animation is more smooth in the position sense. It's time to fix this timing, because it's really bad, the timing. So now let's fix it. Here at the beginning, I want the ball to start slowly, and then here moving faster, and here moving slowly, and here moves really fast to break this rectangle. So start slowly, go faster, then stops here, and then gets really fast. So to start slowly, let's see the first keyframe and move the speed graph. Let's see how it looks. There is good. I want to make that the ball in this intersection keeps the same speed, so I'm gonna grab these two keyframes that are in this intersection and right click and click here and draw across time. They will keep the same velocity in this time, and here in this keyframe I wanna keep the same velocity in this intersection too, so I'm gonna grab and draw across time. So now let's see. Here it stops like really hard. I'm gonna make it to have more time to stop, like that. There you go. Okay, here at the end I want to make it go a little faster. Grab this, move it closer for the ball to move faster at this time. Okay, and now I wanna assist this keyframe to adjust the speed here. Here you can see that if I assist this keyframe, it completely stops. So to make it to not stop and just continue moving, we're going to double click in this keyframe and select here in continuous. And now we can move this to make the ball to keep moving, because if we don't check this box, and now we can grab this and make it like more fluid motion. Okay, and now here when it's at this point, I want the ball to be really fast. So let's grab this last handle and move it here to the left. Do the same thing with this left handle, here the right handle, to increase like this little mountain. So let's keep doing this. Okay, let's move the keyframes together like that. And now it's really fast. Okay, see? Okay, here it takes like a lot of time, so I'm gonna grab these two keyframes and move it backwards. Okay, here it makes something weird. Okay, let's see what's... Oh yeah, so these paths are like separated. Let's try to move it together here. There you go. And now you have to keep an eye here and try to make the speed graph to be as smooth as possible. Try that the speed graph doesn't have these trim intersections, so it's just like a constant movement. Now let's see. Okay, it's really fast. Make this to take more time. Let's see now. Here stops from nowhere. To fix this, put these 2 points together, double click and make it continuous. And now they should keep here together. Okay, here it takes too much time, so this is just trial and error. Okay, here stops. So here also we have to put this together, double click and make it continuous. I don't know why this part it looks like this, but it works. Here is like too slow, so I'm gonna move this together like that. Okay, so we have the animation done. I want the ball to start moving from the really beginning, so I'm gonna put the position here and move this a little close, like here. Okay, I wanna sorry, but I want to make this part faster. So move this close together and even more fast. And here I want to make it to get a little slower, so I'm gonna move this down. So now it's time to animate this rectangle breaking. So let's see when the ball goes through the triangle, it will be this frame. Let's make a mask, like making the rectangle to break in half. Grab the pen tool with G and select here to create a mask. Now start masking out this part. There you go. Now close the mask. And here we have the rectangle. Now let's duplicate this rectangle. Let's go to the rectangle below, go to mask, so tap 2 times M, and here invert the mask. There you go. Now if you see this small gap here, you have to increase the mask expansion to 1 or decrease it to 1 or 2. And let's call this rectangle right, and here the rectangle left. There you go. So now that we can separate this layer, go to position or both, make a keyframe and move this keyframe here before it hits the rectangle. Now go forward when it already hit the rectangle, like some seconds forward. Oh, I forgot. And for each rectangle like this, you have to move the anchor point. So grab the anchor point tool with with Y and move these little anchor points. Wait, go to where you made the keyframe, grab the anchor points and move it here to the middle. Holding Ctrl, it will help you to find the middle, like that. Do the same thing with the other rectangle, grab the anchor points and move it to the middle, like that. There you go. So now go forward, some seconds forward, and move that right rectangle. I'm gonna move it like here, and this, I'm gonna move it like here. Now you can see that the animation is like really slow. It's because we have to assist the last keyframes. So assist the two last keyframes with F9. Go to the graph editor, move this all the way to 100 and grab the first keyframes and move it all the way here. Now let's see. Okay, now it looks better. If you need to make it faster, move the keyframe here, close together. And now let's animate the rotation. So press R for both layers, add a keyframe for rotation, and do the same thing. Here at the end, let's rotate each layer like this to the opposite side, and this like this. Now let's grab both keyframes with shift click, assist them with F9, go to graph editor, move it to 100, grab both keyframes here and move it to 0. Now let's see. Okay. Now it looks better. I think there should be like more movements. So I'm gonna bring this like farther away. There you go. And here this one, I'm gonna make it to rotate less. So I already have the rectangle animated and the ball animated. Okay, now it's time to bring some color. So for the ball, I'm gonna change the color to a green like this green, yeah. Let's add the background. So deselect all layers, go to the rectangle here and double click it. Move it at the bottom, rename this to background, click here in fill and select radial gradient. There you go. Move this point here at the top and this at the bottom, like here. Let's change the color. So this could be a green maybe. Make this one really dark. Okay, yeah. You can move this middle point too. I'm gonna move this here. So we already have the background. Let's add a gradient to the rectangle now. Do the same thing, go to here fill and select gradient. But first we are going to solo one layer, go to mask and let's disable for now. So select here to none. So we can add the gradient and click here to not see this mask. Let's add the gradient now, like that, move the points, okay. You can change the gradient colors. This shouldn't be too dark. I'm gonna make this brighter, maybe like that. Let me see with the background. So this should be like contrasting with the background. So once you put the gradient, grab the gradient fill, copy it with Ctrl C, go to the other layer, content, rectangle, and paste it here in rectangle with Ctrl V, and delete the fill. Okay, now you can stop soloing this layer, go to the mask and go to add again, and you can preview the mask again. Now let's see how it looks. Okay, it looks awesome. There you go. It's maybe purple. Yeah, purple. Now let's add some decoration to the background. So we have to create another ellipse. So let's create an ellipse here with shift. This will be some decoration that will be in the background. So first let's center the anchor point with Ctrl+Home and right click in this layer and go to layer styles and select Bevel and Emboss. Open it. Let's bring up size all the way up. Change the highlight mode to overlay and make the opacity 100. So this will give it like a 3D look. And now we can change the gradient. So go here in fill, select the radial gradient, make sure you have the selection tool to see these points and move them. This could be a little darker, move these points a little bit. Okay, let's decrease the shadow opacity to something like 60. So we have our decoration. Let's call this decoration ball. There you have it. Move this below the ball layer and let's add some Gaussian blur as this will be in the background. So something like 25 and check this box and check and check and check it. Let's make a adjustment layer here at the top. Ctrl+Alt+Y. Now let's create a solid. Let's call this matte. Double click in this ellipse tool to make a shape like this. We are going to increase the feather of this layer, something like that. And now we are going to use this solid layer as a matte for this adjustment layer. Toggle switches and grab the pick whip and select this matte. Okay, so now this adjustment layer will only be visible in the matte. If we add, for example, a fill, it only works where the matte is. So I'm gonna delete this fill. I'm gonna add a Gaussian blur and move it something like 50 maybe. And I'm gonna invert this mask. So go here and click here to invert. Now it will only work in the corners as you see here. And now let's also add a tritone. Move this tritone up and let's change this to whatever color you want. I'm gonna make it black to make it like a vignette and increase this to make it softer. There you go. Gonna increase the feather of this solid layer mask to 50 maybe. So let's call this corner blur like that. And now grab the decoration ball, go to position with P and I'll click position. We are going to add some wiggle. So let's add a wiggle. It could be frequency 1 and amplitude 50 maybe. Let's solo this layer to see the movement. Yeah, maybe a little more, like 20. There you have it. Now that we have this decoration ball with wiggle, let's duplicate with Ctrl D, move it, change the scale, do it one more time, move it, change the scale, one more time, make this really like that. Okay, so there we have these decoration balls. You can also change the angle of the bevel and emboss. So go to layer style, bevel and emboss, and change here the angle. So we have this. I'm gonna also grab some decoration balls and move it above our ball layer and decrease the Gaussian blur to something like 5 or 10. So this will be above this layer so we can see it. This will give it a more interesting look. I will make this big ball to be above and this little ball to be below. Change the Gaussian blur. This will be 25 and this will be 10. Let's see. Okay, now it's time to make this hit to be more impactful. So first thing we can add is a invert layer. So it will be like 2 frames that the whole image invert its colors. So let's add a adjustment layer with Ctrl+Alt+Y and let's see when it hits. It hits here. So trim this adjustment layer with Ctrl+Shift+D, delete this part, go 2 frames forward with page down and trim the other parts here. So it will only last these 2 seconds. Let's rename this impact. Let's add a invert effect like that. You will see that it inverts all the colors. You can use these colors if you like, but you can also change these colors by adding a tint and change this black to any color you like a more electric color like this, and there you have it. This is one detail we can add. Now let's add another detail. So let's hide this layer for a moment and let's add ellipse here where it impacts. Deselect all the layers and make a ellipse here. Change the gradient to only be a fill and change the color to white. Trim the layer here, Ctrl+Shift+D, delete this part, move this below the impact. This will be like a shockwave, like a hit. Let's call this hit. This will be one of the 2 hits we are going to add. So trim the layer here too, make it really short. And let's zoom and let's animate the scale and the opacity. So at first the opacity will be something like 50 maybe. Oh, bring the anchor point to the center with Ctrl+Alt+Home. So we can move the scale. It will start like from here and move some keyframes forward. Let's change the scale to something like 300 and the opacity to 0. Let's see. I want this to last longer, so I'm gonna move this even forward, like here. Okay, to feather out this layer, let's add a quick Gaussian blur and let's increase it until we see it's really smooth and uncheck this box. Should be faster, so I'm gonna increase the scale to 400 maybe, like that. So now let's duplicate this hit. Now we have the hit 2, and for this hit we're going to change the color. So I'm gonna grab this tint color, copy and paste it here at the color. This hit will be faster, so grab the keyframes and move it like here. And I don't want this to be too big, so I'm gonna decrease the scale to 200 maybe. And this will start a little later, like this. Okay, we have this hit. Now let's make the shockwave. Make another ellipse here, like here. And this ellipse will not have a fill, so let's disable. It will have a stroke, a white stroke. Now let's trim the layer here at the back, move it down, and let's call this shock wave. There you go. Now let's animate the size. So go to here, content, ellipse, ellipse path, make a keyframe for size, move forward like this, and increase the size until it goes out of the screen. There you go. So it will be something like this. Let's ease this last keyframe, move the speed graph so it comes really fast and then slows down. There you go. And let's move this keyframe a little forward to make it slower, because now it's too fast. There you have it. And maybe not too much here. Let's make the stroke bigger, so increase it to 50 maybe, or 60. And also let's add a Gaussian blur to smooth out this stroke, to make it not be too sharp, like this. 50. And check this box. And now let's create a adjustment layer, and this will be the displacement layer for our shockwave. So go here at the beginning, trim this layer. This will be shockwave placement. Now let's add a displacement map. Here select the shockwave, select effect and masks. We select the Gaussian blur too. Set horizontal displacement to 0 and increase the vertical displacement how much you want to displace it. And as you can see, thanks to the Gaussian blur, it makes this displacement, because if we just disable the Gaussian blur, it will be like this, and it looks really weird. So you can increase or decrease the Gaussian blur for that smoothness, but I'm gonna leave it like that. Also, let's animate the stroke. So here at the beginning the stroke is bigger, and here at the end is like thinner. So go here, let's try stroke. We have the stroke width here, make a keyframe, and here at the beginning I want to be 100, and at the end 0. This is this keyframe. Move the speed graph here, and let's see. Oh yeah, it looks so cool. Okay, go to the graph editor for these two keyframes at the beginning and move it all the way here. There you go. Now it starts like faster. So we have this shockwave, and you can also make the shockwave shape layer visible and toggle switches and change the mode to overlay. Now you will see like the colors. Also, to avoid this like dark path here because of the displacement, we can add to the shockwave displacement layer a motion tile. Move this above, select mirror edges, and increase output width to 200 and output height to 202. Now it's fixed. There we have our shockwave. Now let's add another shockwave, like a mini shockwave. So let's duplicate these layers and move it a little forward, so it will be like a remnant shockwave. And go here to the shockwave, and you have to select the other shockwave. So this is our first shockwave, and this our second shockwave. So select that, shockwave 2, and this will be a little smaller. So go to shockwave 2 here. It will be faster too. Remove this keyframe here and move the size like here inside the composition, so you can see the full shockwave ring. There you have it. Now let's preview how this is looking. Okay, I think the shockwaves are a little too fast, so let's grab both shockwaves, grab the last keyframes and move it a little forward. Let's see if that is better. Oh, I forgot to show the impact layer, so now let's preview with the impact. Oh, damn. Okay, and I'm going to trim the work area where everything stopped moving. So go here to the rectangle and go to the keyframe here and press N. So it will only be that. Now we are almost done. We have to add a echo effect to the ball. So here to the ball layer, and let's add a echo. there. Now let's type here in echo time minus 0.006 numbers of echoes to 25, and here in decay to something like 0.9. Change this to maximum and let's preview. There you have it. To avoid things like these copies, we have to toggle switches and enable the motion blur, and now it will smooth the things. We are almost done. Now we have to add a little glow to this ball. I'm gonna add my glow preset. You can download it for free in the description. It's better glow. There you have it. And I'm gonna change a little bit of things here. Threshold to 0 here, the radius to 50, and here at the end the threshold to 0. Now with the glow and the echo done, let's see how this looks. Fuck. Damn. Okay, so now the last details to add here is to add a wiggle to the rectangles, but if you see, the rectangles are both separated, so if I add a wiggle they will move at different positions. So we have to add a null here above the rectangles, so press Ctrl Shift Alt Y to add a null, and let's parent these two rectangles to that null. Let's call this rectangle wiggle, and just let's add a wiggle to the null. So let's type wiggle 1,30. Let's see if that is right, and let's solo this layer so it render faster, maybe 20. Yeah, that will be right. Also let's add a motion blur here for both rectangles. I add the motion blur here at the finish when I'm completing the animation, because it takes too much performance of your PC, so this way your workflow will be faster. I forgot the last thing is to the two shockwave layers add a motion blur. There you go. And now this will take a lot to render, but it looks beautiful. It looks really nice. So let's preview how it looks now. Damn. That's so fucking cool. Love it. The last thing I think it will be better is if I grab this little decoration ball, disable the decoration blur and move it above the rectangles. I think that makes more sense. Let's see. Wow. This impactful animation is like really powerful. All the effects make that hit like have more impact. It's done. You can find the project file down in the description. You can download it for free. Also my glow preset. And that's all for today's tutorial. If you want more tutorials like this that are like a little longer but have an amazing animation, tell me in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.